Hey gamers, Maniac here once again with another Mind of Maniac. I'm inspired to do this Mind of Maniac based upon the news that I and many of you have read starting yesterday. Microsoft will be shipping a new version of the Xbox One come June 9th, the first day of E3 this year. A $399 model, and which basically will put it at the same price of a PlayStation 4 out of the box. And the big announcement about this $399 model Xbox One is it's not coming with a Kinect sensor. All Xbox Ones since launch that were released to the public shipped with a Kinect 2.0 sensor, and a lot of people argued that it made the bundle, the price, far too high. It made the Xbox One at a price of $499, and a lot of people in the game media, meaning gaming journalists and things like that, I felt were being a bit too irresponsibly elated about this news. I am not excited about this news one bit, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. I do think this is a very bad move for Microsoft in backpedaling on this. The Kinect, when it first came out in the previous generation, was, you could use it two ways. It basically could be used exclusively for game control, so that you would be able to play games exclusively with a Kinect sensor without the need of controllers. You would need a Kinect sensor in order to play those games, so in order to have those games you'd either have to get a Kinect sensor or you have to get an Xbox 360 with a Kinect sensor bundle in order to play Kinect exclusive games. This I kind of thought was a little bit bad for developers, because the developers knew that if they were to develop games that would use the Kinect sensor exclusively, their market would basically only be people who own the Kinect sensor, which was, let's face it, an optional attachment for the Xbox 360. On top of that, the Kinect sensor did have some problems in tracking and things like that. There were a few issues there, here and there. It's to be expected. I mean, nothing is perfect. In this case, it wasn't a perfect system. But it worked pretty well enough, and I've played plenty of Kinect games and enjoyed them just fine. Kinect Adventures, Rise of Nightmares, that sort of thing, basically. So, Kinect, in theory, did work, I thought. But for me, where I think that the Kinect worked the best was, and I talked about this in my Future of the Controller Mind of Maniac, it worked best in conjunction with a controller, based upon gesture commands that you could do on top of playing a game. It worked well as a Kinect add-on, as a system add-on, basically, so that you could use the controller, but if you made a move or a swipe or something, or you screamed something at the screen, it would be read by the sensor, read by the Xbox, and the game would do the command based upon that. I thought it worked really well in Mass Effect 3. We could read out your dialogue. I thought it worked really well giving extra commands for Halo Anniversary. I thought the gesture system actually added a fun little layer, basically, to the game experience. Now it seemed like Microsoft was going to take it a step further with the One, and I was excited about this. In fact, I wrote an article on my website, which you can still read, where I wrote about an editorial about this. I was really excited about the fact that I think Microsoft realized that they wanted to get the Kinect out there, and because the Kinect could actually offer developers a lot of new tools. And offer gamers a lot of new options for controls in ways of immersion that we hadn't seen before, or hadn't seen like this. There were new ways of immersion, like the Wiimote and things like that, or gesture controls and gyroscopes and the controllers and stuff like that. But the Kinect was, I thought, doing something new with voice commands and visual commands and gesture commands and things like that. I thought it was doing something a bit new and bringing something new to the table. To say nothing of the fact of player capturing and things like that as well. Plus, it's probably got the best Skype camera I've ever seen. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. I think developers were a little bit, especially towards the end of the Xbox 360's life cycle, a little bit hesitant to do Kinect exclusive games for the same reason that the install base on the Kinect sensor wasn't as high as it should have been, or as high as the market on the Xbox 360 was. And I think that Microsoft knew that they had something interesting here, they could improve it, and they wanted to make developers comfortable with the fact that they could develop their games with the Kinect specifically in mind, and not be afraid of a fragmented market like the Xbox 360 had, where only some players had the Kinect. I was excited about this, and they built a lot of features around the Xbox One operating system, including the version of the operating system that I'm currently using as of the time of this recording. They built a lot of those features with the Kinect in mind, knowing that players would have the Kinect. After the huge backlash of negativity, which I think is really, really, really overblown for several reasons I'll get into later on, especially given the fact that all you'd have to do is do a search on YouTube for the words PS4 Playroom stream if you wanted to see all the same people that bought a PlayStation 4 strictly because they were worried that the Xbox One would capture their video and send it directly to the NSA, which was a violation of Microsoft's clear terms of service. Microsoft did have it said in their legal terms of service that they would not transmit. That was their official policy, and that is still their official policy. People would just simply be directly broadcasting their things for the NSA. Basically, there are a lot of people that use the Playroom, and it's rightfully so. You can do this, obviously, it's all consent. But I do think it's ironic that you could argue in the same breath that, I don't want anybody seeing my private life and then openly broadcasting their private life to literally the entire world. I won't go any further on that. I just thought that was kind of ironic. But anyways, so there was that. The one thing, like I said before, was I think it worked really well for developers. My number one game that I'm really looking forward to on the Xbox One, I've already picked up the launch titles and I'm looking forward to the future basically, and I know there are a lot of good games that have already been announced for the Xbox One which are still in development, but my number one game that I'm looking forward to in development on the Xbox One is Quantum Break by Remedy. This was the first game that was announced for the Xbox One. It's obviously not been a launch title. We're hopefully going to see it at E3 this year. I'm really hoping that Remedy does a showing of the game because I'm really looking forward to seeing this game. I'd like to be able to pick it up pretty soon. I love Remedy. Remedy did Max Payne 1, Max Payne 2, Death Rally on iOS and PC, and now they're doing Quantum Alan Wake, of course, and now they're doing Quantum Break. So I'm really looking forward to that. And one of the reasons why I was really looking forward to Quantum Break, or why I am really looking forward to Quantum Break, is because I was curious in the fact that I knew that they were going to be doing Xbox One development exclusively. I was thinking maybe they might be using the Kinect in some way that we hadn't seen before. Given the fact that they are experimenting, they are known to experiment with new types of gameplay styles, and we've only seen kind of glimpses on what is possible with Quantum Break, I was excited for the possibilities of what Remedy might be doing in conjunction, knowing that the Kinect sensor is something that they would have to rely on. Now that the Kinect sensor has become optional, maybe those plans will have to be scaled back, as well as some of the plans of some of the developers out there. From what I've been told, and from what has been tweeted by several prominent game developers, the developers were not notified of this change. Microsoft just made the announcement without telling the developers. Some of the developers who are making Kinect exclusive titles or games that would rely heavily on expecting that the Kinect would be available to players may have to be concerned about less sales, or at the very least people might have to pay less or pay more for an extra Kinect sensor than they would if they had an Xbox One with a Kinect sensor. On top of that, and this was my biggest gripe. That wasn't actually my biggest gripe, actually. I feel bad for developers, but I think that there can be workarounds, and there's still time to dial back at some games. And I still think that the Kinect install base will be pretty high. But my biggest gripe about this is from the journalists who have irresponsibly said that the Kinect was useless, or was a useless peripheral. It served no purpose to enhance the gaming experience or the Xbox One experience. And that is just flat out wrong. The Kinect is used in conjunction with the Xbox One guide. You can't use the TV One functions at all without a Kinect, and the reason why is because the Kinect not only comes with the camera, but it comes with an infrared transmitter also, which is used in conjunction with the controllers for gesture-based stuff, kind of similar to how the PlayStation 4 controller uses a light bar, basically. The it looks to me like, at least getting a good look at the Xbox One controller, that the Xbox One controller does have a very similar technology. The only difference is that the Xbox One's light is invisible to the naked eye. You can't see in infrared. But if you had an infrared camera, you'd probably see something transmitting from the controller back and forth to the Kinect, which is fine, but you did. I think the Xbox uses it to know what players that is tracking has what controller, that sort of thing, or something along those lines. So there's that. Well, it's also used for Xbox One sign-in. Now, obviously, that can be patched out. They can simply release a patch to the Xbox One operating system to have a default profile selected by default without needing to have the Kinect sensor plugged in. That can be patched. It's already available in the Xbox 360. You can have a default profile selected on startup. But the TV functionality that the Kinect brings with the infrared transmitter would not, I don't think, could be replicated. They might be able to do some type of HDMI control, which I think was their original plan, but I don't know if the Xbox One can do that by itself. I don't know if Xbox One control or HDMI control is something that it can actually do. Like to see it, to see if it's possible, but for right now, people without Xbox Ones, people with Xbox Ones who don't buy a Kinect model won't be able to use the cable box control functionality of the Xbox One guide, unfortunately. So there's that. Which I think is, again, irresponsible, but that's irresponsible on the form of the journalist. The Xbox One TV function, I admit, is optional, but it is one of the touted it is one of the touted features of the Xbox One. So unfortunately, anybody who doesn't buy a Kinect model won't be able to use that functionality, or at least until maybe there's a workaround or something like that. So that's my concerns about the Xbox One. I think the Xbox One is a great machine. Having played the PS4, obviously my PS4 broke after a week, so I can't really make any further information about it. But if I could say a few things about the Xbox One, I do think that it's kind of interesting, at the very least, that Microsoft is trying to level the playing field. And possibly to level the playing field, they are deciding maybe that they need to move away from the Kinect. The PS4 already has gesture controls built into the DualShock 4 controller without the need of using the PlayStation camera. The PlayStation, while it does have a 3D camera of its own, is less expensive than a Kinect. It only costs $70 US as opposed to an extra $100 premium over the Xbox One. It doesn't have anywhere near amount of function. I don't think it has an IR transmitter in it or something like that. That might be proprietary Microsoft patented stuff. But it does use 3D cameras. It's not as high resolution as the Kinect camera is. The Kinect camera is a 1080p. This is, I think, about 1280 by 800 or something. But at the very least, the DualShock controllers can recognize gesture-based controls. I don't know if the Xbox One has gesture controls in their controller. That's I don't think it does, actually. I think that Microsoft was relying, at least for gesture-based stuff, to use the Kinect. So that's another thing. They may not be able to do gesture-based controls with the controller, given the fact of how the controller was designed originally to use the Kinect. They might need to release either a new type of controller. And if you ask me, I think the Xbox One controller is overpriced as it is. Especially given the fact of that the price that is currently available at does not include a rechargeable battery. If you add a price of a rechargeable battery, it's much, much more expensive than a DualShock 4 controller. And has a lot less features than the DualShock 4 controller does. It doesn't have an internal speaker, doesn't have a touchpad, doesn't have a, it doesn't have an internal battery, stock. The DualShock 4 controller does seem to be a much better option. At least price-wise, for a controller. So, but if you'd like to see that, just go to my YouTube channel and check out my DualShock 4 review. Again, I just want to say I think this is a bad move from Microsoft. I am not happy with it at all. Granted, I'm sure that there will still be 500 model Xbox One Kinect models available still. I just really feel bad for the gamers. I feel really bad for the developers who think that, who were planning on that Kinect being there. Now they will not be able to rely on that anymore. Maybe this means the end of motion control. Maybe this is the point where we have to think, maybe this is the point where, is this the end of motion control? Is this it? Because to be perfectly honest, a lot of people have considered it a gimmick. It became popular with the Nintendo Wii. It was advanced with the Kinect and the PlayStation Move. It is still in the DualShock 4 controller. But if Microsoft is putting an end to the Kinect with the Xbox One model, this could be it for motion control. This really could. We could just simply be going back to controllers. Maybe motion control within maybe 2 or 3 years could be considered simply a failed experiment. And I think that's kind of interesting. So, not the best, not the happiest, cheeriest Mind of Maniac that I've done. I'm sure many of you guys probably disagree. But like I said, I'm basically going off of the official stated policies as well as this policy, the stuff that I've been reading online from gaming journalists and game developers. So I have not really taken, the opinions here are certainly mine, but they're based upon, you know, what I've read and stuff from these things. Obviously, it could be possible that Quantum Break, a lot of people don't know about. That's like my one thing that I was guessing about. I have no reason to suspect, honestly, other than the fact of that Remedy was hiring Kinect developers before they started really, you know, before they made the announcement of Quantum Break. So I have no way of knowing specifically if Remedy was intending to do Quantum Break, and by all means, they still could do gesture controls or Kinect features in Quantum Break, but, you know, I just kind of thought, well, who knows how cool Quantum Break could be, knowing that the developers would have been free to do whatever with the Kinect. So, you know, Milo is dead, long live Milo, basically. Until next time, guys, this is Maniac with GamingStats.net. Over and out.